Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great episode of Connections That Count. We've got a fantastic guest this week, Chase Kirbow. He's an API 653 inspector, and he's had about 10 years in the industry, and he's got some great insights to share this week. So, without further ado, please enjoy this episode. Thank you.
Awesome. So thanks again for your time, Chase, and really excited to have you on this next episode of Connections That Count. I thought we could start where we normally do and just ask you a few questions about how you initially got into the industry and maybe your path towards your current role that you've got right now.
Sure. So I've been in the industry going on 12 years. I actually got kind of a later start than what most people do. I'll spare the various hats that I wore before falling into this industry, but I wore a lot of different hats before getting this industry. So I had been told about this thing called radiography initially, and it's a good pathway to get into the industrial contractor side of the industry. So I took my 40-hour rad safety class from Lori McGowan in Deer Park, and after that, it took me quite a few months to actually get my first job. As I'm sure most people know, it's your first job is always your most difficult. But that's how I got started, and I found out after a couple months of doing radiography, it really wasn't my cup of tea. So I pursued UT, PT, MT, PMI, DFT, and I was an NDT technician inspector for 5 years before I got my first API.
Yeah, and like you said, not to go too deep into it, but was there something about like what was the driving force behind the change? Because obviously maybe you kind of changed lanes and you jumped into this. You just see a lot of opportunities to jump in, and it was something you wanted to do, or what kind of interested you in making that shift?
So once I had done about really 3 years as a technician and kind of really familiarized myself with the trajectory of my career path, I really decided at that point, this technician thing, it's great. I do like it, but I like the inspection side more, specifically the API and CWI route, the QA, QC type of thing. And so one of the things that I did early in my career, even before I really kind of made the decision that was the path that I was going to go down, is anytime I had an opportunity, I would say I was very blessed because I did a lot of project work, MI projects, specialty projects, and turnarounds. I did very little call out, and you could say that maybe because of my demonstrated skills and abilities, or maybe it was just luck. But what I did is any downtime that I had, I would find me an API or a CWI, and I would ask them, hey, can I follow you around? Can I ask questions? Can I learn what you're doing? And one of the things that I found out, at least with, I would say, most of the people around me, is they weren't doing that. Whether they were comfortable with what they were doing or they didn't have the drive, I did not. I knew in 3 years as a technician, NDT technician, that was not all I wanted to be. And then, seeing operation managers, field supervisors, I actually met an engineer that was not a degreed engineer around that same time that had worked their way up from a technician into an API, CWI, and eventually became an engineer titled person. And it really opened my mind up to what other opportunities were out there.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of, was my way of kind of pledging myself to, I'm going to do this one way or another. So I guess that's kind of to answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of springboarding off of there. Anybody who meets you would know that you're obviously pretty passionate about getting the details right. And I think something you had said in a meeting before was that you're committed to excellence in everything that you're trying to do. Just wondering what maybe the source of that passion is. Obviously, you're passionate about getting this stuff right and going out and being able to give good information to folks. Just wondering if maybe the source of that.
So probably a couple different things. One, I was raised to not do anything half-assed as a kid. You do the whole thing, you do it right the first time, or at least you try your best to. So that probably helped. But then also part of one of the numerous hats that I wore before getting into this industry was in web application, software development. And one syntax error is going to throw your whole code off. So just understanding that, and even though maybe this is more on like the bodily, the physical side of things, that sort of approach to making sure that things are done right, especially when it comes to the data point, it's probably a lot from my background in IT prior to getting this industry.
No, that makes total sense, and I think extremely applicable to what we're doing. So absolutely. And just kind of going in from there, maybe you've already given a little bit of advice, when you were saying that you were following up on some of these folks that had a little bit more experience, trying to learn from them. Maybe any other pointers you could give to somebody who's in a similar role to you or trying to be in a similar role to you right now,
Sure.
and maybe work their way up into some of those opportunities you talked about.
So one of the things we had talked about off this video recording a couple of weeks ago is understanding that the industry is evolving. It is changing. Used to, there would be people in leadership positions that probably didn't know how to talk to people the best. But those people are retiring now a lot of the times. And what you're finding is a lot of mid 40s, 50s, even early 60-year-olds in these previous positions. And they tend to have a better means to negotiate or talk with people. So I would say ask questions, man. If you don't know, ask. The industry really has evolved to where if you don't know and you're unsure, but if you show the willingness to try to learn, someone out there will help you. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And similarly too, keep in mind, API tests specifically are very, very, very difficult. I would say your first one is especially difficult because you don't understand how API is going to ask questions or the questions are going to ask. So prep courses are definitely the way I did it. I feel like I am good at self-studying, but I paid the money to have an instructor. I feel like it was worth every penny, especially on the first one. Keep in mind, a lot of your employers nowadays, because the industry had demand for APIs before there were enough people certified, nowadays you kind of miss the boat, myself included, where employers would pay you a 40-hour paycheck and pay for the class and pay for the test. That's not realistic anymore. The best you can hope for, and what I did on all of my APIs, was I didn't take PTO. I just asked, can I have a week off? And then can I have a day off for the exam? You don't have to pay me. I don't want to use my PTO. And I'll pay for everything myself. So that's something you have to be able to financially do for yourself. And then also, prior to any of that, is just getting your own study hours in on your own. So my first API that I was studying for, I was on a 8-week turnaround working 7/12s. And when I wasn't shadowing someone, when I wasn't actually doing my job, I had my code books open and I was studying. And if you're not willing or able to grasp that sort of commitment and understanding, let me be the first to tell you, it takes that effort to get your APIs passed, specifically your first one.
Absolutely. And some great pointers there. So thank you. Really, I just kind of wanted to leave with one other point. Obviously, you've been doing this for over a decade. Any stories or any experiences that you've had while doing it that sort of stick out that you feel like maybe others could learn from or get something out of?
Let me think. So I think that the best sort of story would probably be something really positive. I think that, again, the industry is evolving, and the more people that are willing to be vocal and not be afraid to raise their hand and say, hey, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, I think that they will be pleasantly surprised the amount of people that are willing to engage with someone that doesn't know, but is being honest that they don't know, but that they would like to know something. Whereas before, people felt like they would get shamed into, oh, you don't know? How do you not know that? And it's just the worst mentality. But having been in the industry over a decade now, I definitely feel like it has changed a lot in that time. And if you're willing to raise your hand and say you don't know, but you would like to learn, there's a lot more people willing to help you learn. So don't be afraid to ask questions.
No, and I think that's great. So I just wanted to say again, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your insights and some of your experience with us. I know it's going to be valuable for people watching the episode, so thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm glad to do it. It's been a pleasure, Tyler.
Yes, sir. Thanks.